Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel, Professor RJ Placone on Communication Excellence. If you like these videos, I hope you'll consider the free subscription. So today we're going to talk about Donald Trump and empathy and just what empathy can mean to all of us in our lives, in the workplace. And I was prompted to do this video when I read a recent interview with Chris Voss, the famed FBI negotiator. And Chris Voss talks a lot about empathy and understanding others. He wrote a book on Don't Split the Difference. He's quite popular, influential. I like his work. But when he was asked directly this particular question, he was asked, does the Trump administration demonstrate empathy? And his response is, I think he has a highly evolved sense of how people see things. I think that's accurate. I talked a little bit about that when I talked about Donald Trump and emotional intelligence. I think he reads people well. I think he especially can discern the emotions of people when there's strong fear in people, and he can respond accordingly. So if I label this under the umbrella of empathy, I would call this cognitive empathy. He does have that ability to read others. If you ask me, is he empathetic? Is his administration empathetic? I would say no. And let me explain why. And let me also say that people like Trump have a difficult time with empathy. There's research in social psychology that suggests that highly powerful people have a hard time being empathetic. In neuroscience, there's research that suggests that power can actually affect how the brain processes information. So when we hear that phrase, power corrupts, power does change us, and it changes us how we view the world, how we see other people, how we potentially demonstrate empathy. But for me, empathy really entails not just that understanding. I can understand how people feel, but I also want to appreciate. I have to demonstrate somehow appreciation. So Daniel Goleman's discussion of empathy comes to mind. Daniel Goleman is a noted Harvard psychologist who became quite famous with his work on emotional intelligence. So he talks about cognitive empathy, just that ability to understand what others are thinking. But he also talks about emotional empathy, where we can almost feel what others are feeling. That we perceive their feelings so strongly that it resonates with us. We feel their pain, and empathic concern. We not only feel the pain, but we have an understanding of what people may need from us in particular times. So when you take this broader view of empathy, again, to me, it's around um, perception, understanding, and appreciation. Appreciation needs to be verbalized. We need to say something that signals to others that we do get it. We understand where they're coming from. It doesn't mean we agree with them in any way, but we understand where they're coming from. Or we demonstrate it in our behaviors. People that we disagree with quite frequently, we're willing to meet with them, willing to hear them out, willing to give them voice. And that, when we talk about someone like Donald Trump and his administration, that's where I think it breaks down. I think we see more of the opposite. We see people who are offering different perspectives, and they're fired. If you take the FEMA folks, for example, who wrote a letter essentially saying with the budget cuts, they fear for what the next disaster would be like. Those people have been on administrative leave. So we don't see that there's appreciation of differing perspectives. So I think for those of us in our personal lives that really want to tap into being more empathetic, being more curious, empathy links to compassion. When people feel like they're viewed with a compassionate eye, they can be more loyal. When they're more loyal, they tend to stay and be more productive. So there's a whole host of reasons why being empathetic in our lives, in the workplace as leaders, makes some sense. For people that see empathy as just this quote soft skill, or something for the weak, that, oh yeah, I feel your pain, that's missing the boat. They really don't understand the challenges of modern day leadership, where you're dealing with so many diverse people. Diversity is everywhere. It's in our personal lives, it's in the workplace, and that means people are different. So having an understanding of that difference, an appreciation of that difference, being willing to verbalize it and acknowledge difference, being willing to act upon it and include others in decision making that are different from us. Again, not necessarily agreeing or doing what they asked for, it's just giving others voice and showing them respect. So the bottom line answer for me is I don't see a lot of empathy from the Trump administration. I can acknowledge that he has probably, in terms of cognitive empathy, he does demonstrate some of that, especially as he perceives what others may be feeling, and he acts accordingly, especially when some of those feelings involve fear and anger. I think a lot of his messaging has been centered on those things. Empathy is a somewhat difficult concept, I think in many ways misunderstood, but I think for all of us, if we can develop a greater sense of empathy, we can develop stronger relationships. In the workplace, we can be seen more as an effective leader because we get people moving in the same direction. We tend to have people who are more loyal and ultimately more productive. I hope you found this useful, and I look forward to our further discussions around leadership and other topics, communication topics. Have a great one.